to our speaker today. So today we have Dr. Craig Nathanson. Welcome, Dr. Craig Nathanson. Thank you for joining us today.
Welcome, Pearl. It's my pleasure indeed.
Well, just to give a little bit of background about Craig, for those of you who are listening, Craig is a college lecturer. He's a workshop leader, career coach, speaker, and also an author of 4 books on career and midlife development and management. Most recently, his books have been How to Find the Right Work During Challenging Times and The Best Manager Getting Better Results Through People. When he has time, he is also a senior faculty, was a senior faculty member of the University of Liverpool, one of our laureate partners, and he was one of the first faculty members to start teaching on the University of Roehampton online programs when we launched last year. And he also has a huge background, including 25 years as a senior manager in Fortune 100 US companies. So a wealth of experience, and we're very much looking forward to this talk and getting to know you better. But just to give you all a little bit of an overview of what Dr. Craig Nathanson will be covering today. So he'll be looking a little bit about the prerequisite to goal setting, also building your personal roadmap and the foundations, looking at how you can achieve your goals in 5 steps, and then also discussing how Roehampton can help you to achieve your goals. At the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A session. We look to spend maybe 10 to 15 minutes really answering your questions with Craig. So please do use this opportunity. Throughout this webinar, just pop your question in the Q&A panel, and we'll get towards it in the end. So over to you, Craig. Take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Pearl. And I just want to say I'm really pleased to be with you today or tonight. For many of you, I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you spending the time here with me. Welcome to my sunny office here in Northern California. It's morning here. What I want to accomplish in this short workshop today is really to give you a foundation for you to reach your most important goals. And so if you haven't, take a moment now and think about it, and perhaps just jot down on a piece of paper. What is the most important goal that you want to achieve right now? And take a moment and just write that down. And what I want to do in the next 45 minutes is give you the foundation so you could walk away with a plan to achieve it. You know, I've noticed that one of the reasons that many people do not reach their goals is because they don't have the right foundation in place. Their goals are not connected, or they're actually disconnected from their values, from their everyday activities. And one of the most important steps in achieving any goal is to make sure that you have this foundation. And I'm going to give you that today through a model I've developed, and as well as walk you through 5 steps to achieve your goals. So I hope you have some fun. So let's get started. So the first step to achieving any goal is to really do some self-reflection. And this is something that, for most adults around the world, we don't do until we reach a crisis. In school, we're not really taught about how to understand the most unique and special person in the world, which is us. And so I ask you now to sort of step back a little bit in your mind's eye and think about what is it you really want to accomplish in your life, and why. And the why is what's most important. I've learned in my own life that if we know the why, we could figure out the how. So think about what's important to you, and these should be things that you really feel are important. Not that others have told you are important, or society has said that's important, but what do you really want to achieve in your goal that's deep in your heart, that's really important to you? There's also a difference between decision and action. I've noticed that many people decide to pursue a particular goal, but they don't take the next step, and then they wonder why 6 months or 6 years later they haven't taken any action towards this goal. So decision and action is really important, and I want to show you how to do both today. About 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago, I developed a model. I call it the 10P model, and it's really similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs for adults, except it's sort of an inverse model, which allows people to kind of start at the top. And as I go through this model, I want you to realize that it's best to start at the top, but you can actually start anywhere in this model. And just like a set of dominoes, they'll all fall into place. So with your goal in mind, again, have a specific goal in mind. Let's get started. The first thing to really think about to build your foundation is to think about, what is the purpose of my life? And that's a very esoteric question. Most people, by the way, really never answer that. So just the fact that you're going to think about this right now is a good first step. One way to think about the purpose of your life is to ask yourself, where do I want to make a contribution in the world? What bothers me about the world, about my neighborhood, about where I live? Where do I want to make a contribution? So it all kind of starts with there. Where do you want to make a difference in your work? And so if you had to answer the question, the purpose of my life is, what would you say? So just having an idea about purpose really helps you to start to move forward. The next time you're at a party and someone says, so what do you do? Try to answer with who you are versus what you do. So it's the who that's most important. So the first P is really, I want you to think about, what is the purpose of your life? And, where do you most want to contribute? Because remember that to achieve your most important goals, at some level they must connect to purpose. So with this in mind, we go to the second P that I call prize. This is very important. Prize is really your values. I want you to think today or tonight about, what do you value most in your life? What's most important? And again, it should be your list, not what others have said, but what do you feel is most important? How do you know that you're following what is most important to you? You might make a list and say, for example, maybe health is most important, and you ask yourself, what are the things I'm doing each day to stay healthy? And what are the things I'm doing each day that perhaps are not helping me be healthy? So think about and prioritize what's most important to you in your life. Because if your goal that you're thinking about today is not linked to this list, you're going to make little progress towards this goal. So you really have to align your goals with what's most important to you. I've found in my research and my work that most adults spend about 90% of their day working on things that have nothing to do with what's most important to them. So think about today. Are your behaviors aligned daily with what you prize most? And that kind of leads us to the next P, which I call perspective. Especially as we age, people have views about us. What we should do, who we are, where we need improvement, for sure. We hear that a lot at work. But what's most important is the perspective we have of ourselves. For example, you might take a piece of paper and write down the answer to, I believe the following about myself. And if you're not happy with those answers, you can change them. To reach any goal, you have to have confidence in yourself. You have to feel good about yourself. And so the third P really deals with perspective. How do you have a great, healthy perspective of yourself? Now, as we go here, if you think about it, if you have a sense of purpose, you have a sense of what's most important, it's easier then to have self-confidence and to have a good perspective about yourself. And that leads to the next P that I call possibilities. Look at your goal right now and think about, if you had to answer this question, the following is possible for me to reach my goal because. The following is possible for me to reach my goal because. Most of us do the opposite. We say, well, it's impossible to reach my goal because. What we focus on in life is what we get. So if you focus on steps towards reaching your goal, you're going to start to move forward, whether you like it or not. There's lots of possibilities in the world for us in terms of our work, our relationships, our finances, our health. So what's important now is how we focus our thinking. So think about your goal now and think about what's possible for you. How is it possible for you to reach your goal? And you'll start to come up with a healthy list. When I was a child, I can remember my third grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. Johnson. She was a big, tall woman. And she used to always say to us, I believe in the possibilities for all of you. Because I asked her once, it seems like you really love to teach. And she said, I do. It's because I believe in possibilities for all of you children. And that stuck with me all these years. So with a sense of what's possible, you now can go to the next P that I call place. Place is your role. What is a role in the world that you want to carry out? Having an internal vision of what's fits you best is really important now. It's also important because the goals you pursue in your life need to align to what you view your role is. One of my first jobs in my early 20s was working in a big company in a computer room, and I would my boss would have me climb under the floor and pull cables. And I remember I was dressed in my suit at the time, and I remember thinking to myself, this isn't what I want to do when I grow up. I think I want to be a teacher someday. So making sure that the role that you play out in the world, or I like to call it the persona, how you view yourself in the world, needs to align to your most important goals. Otherwise, there's going to be a disconnection. So think about that. I think it would be kind of fun at this point in the seminar today to do a poll, and I think we'll do that now. Pearl?
Yep, so the poll question is now live on your right hand of your screen. So the poll question is, my ultimate goal in life relates to my work. So just answer, take a minute or two, just answer maybe yes, no, or maybe, and then we'll look at the results once they're in. So Craig, if you want to carry on, then we'll come back to the results once they're through.
Good, thanks, Pearl. So one way to think about your place in the world is to maybe answer some of these questions I've put up on the slide for you right now. I believe my vocational world and my vocational role in the world would be, and I talk about vocation because I found, and we'll see here, that many of our goals relate to our work. We'll spend more hours in our life working than anything else. And so thinking about your work and how this relates to your most important goals is key. Think back when you were a child, maybe when you were 10 or 11 years old. What did you want to be when you grew up? And think now, what are you doing? And as an adult, when you grow up, who do you want to be? It's never too late or too early. I like to tell the story. Last year I was at a lunch, and there was a woman next to me having her 100th year birthday party. And she was so excited, and she was telling her friends that in the next 5 years, she had a new project. And she loved planting flowers in the ground, and she said she wasn't going to be able to do that anymore, but she had bought a table, and now she was going to be able to work standing up. And one of her friends said, you're too old for this. And she said, look, I wish I was your age. And her friend was like 85. So, you're never too old and you're never too young to start to move towards what it is that you really want to do. So place is very important. Think about what is your role in the world and how does that relate to your most important goals. We'll give you just a couple seconds here to finish up your poll, and we'll see what everybody said.
Great. Yeah, we should be getting the results in a couple of seconds, and then we'll be able to have it. It'll be interesting to see the results from this. Okay, interesting. So the results have come through. So it's a majority yes that the work is that people's ultimate goal, with over 50%, with 21% saying no, and then 70% not sure with a maybe. So that's an interesting result there, Craig.
Yeah, it is, and it's what I would have suspected. I mean, these days, most of us are working much longer than ever. And as I like to tell people, the idea here is to pick work that you love and you could do forever. And so we will spend more hours at work than anything else. And so it doesn't surprise me that this is an important goal for many of you. But even if your goal today does not relate to work, I'm going to give you a foundation here that's going to enable you to have a plan to carry it out.
Great. Just a note for those of you who want to go back to watching the video, if you just click the X icon at the top of the polling box, then you can then go back to video. Okay. So it's all yours again, Craig.
Let's move to the next P. Keep it in mind that you have if you have a sense of role, then we move to the next P, which I call position or attitude. Having a healthy attitude, I'm sure you all already know this, is important, but it's especially important when you're moving towards the goals that are most important to you. How do you feel about your work? How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about others and the world around you? Having a healthy attitude is really, really important. So examine your own feelings, your own emotions right now. I mean, did you ever have a situation where during the day all of a sudden you felt angry or sad or happy? When that happens, it's important to stand back and ask yourself, where did those thoughts just came from? What triggered those thoughts? You have the ability to make yourself feel good. You have the ability to feel good as you start to move towards the goals which are most important to you. So position deals with attitude, and I want you to think today about what is your attitude about your life, about your work, about your goals. And if they're not 100% positive, I just want to remind you, you have the ability to feel better about those things. And that leads us to the next P, which I call passion. I've given you a definition of passion here, but passion is spending your life doing things that are really exciting to you, that are really interesting to you. And it's very important that your goals should relate to your passion. Otherwise, you're going to find that you're not going to spend much time on your goals. If I was to send you to the bookstore this afternoon, I call this or this evening, for many of you, I call this the bookstore test. What part of the bookstore would you go to, and why? And you'll find that you go to different parts of the bookstore during different parts of your life. So think about, what are you really passionate about in your life? What really are the things that you love to do that you can do forever? For example, I could just keep talking and talking and talking today. This 45-minute seminar is much too short for me because I love to do this. So think about, what are you really passionate about? And that leads to the next P. Actually, let me just say one more thing about passion as I have a slide up here. Think about how also you can become an expert at your passions. When you become an expert at your passions, you're not only more internally motivated, but you make more progress, towards your goals. So that leads to the next P, and I call this perfect vocational day, and this will resonate with those of you who have goals that relate to your work. And for some of you who have goals that do not relate to your work, this will still work for you. As I said here, you can be the artist for your life, but first you have to decide what you'll paint. So take a moment and think about, if you had all the money in the world and you could spend an entire day for the rest of your life, what would the pattern of that day be like? When would you get up? What would you do? Where would you go? Who would you be with? In other words, if you could envision a perfect day for you and include that in your work and include that vision of your goals being achieved, what would that day be like? I've found that, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but I've found that if one could design their life around a perfect day, it starts to get them moving towards the things that they want in their life. So you are the artist of your life, and I want to remind you of that. And that brings us to the ninth P, which I call present. So, okay, now let's assume you have an idea of a goal or goals are really important to you. And you have some foundation now with the 10P model. But what do you do now? How do you actually move forward? What are the first steps? I think it's important to answer a bunch of questions around why it's important to close the gap, to look at many perspectives. Maybe you'll go into the future when you've already achieved this goal. Turn around and look back and ask yourself, now, what did I do to achieve this goal? Or maybe go into the past and look forward to today and say, what is it that I really want to do, and how am I going to make progress? And how will people that you care about be impacted by you moving towards your goals? So the more you think about why this goal is important and how reaching this goal will make my life different, make your life different, you'll get new energy to move towards it. Also think about your financial goals. Think about your relationships and how you can make those stronger. How can you make your emotions stronger? So this is really getting centered right now in the present. And that leads to the last P, which is permission. In some of my latest research, I am discovering that most people have some sort of a trigger in their life that causes them, that gives them the short window, the potential to step back and take a look at their life at a much deeper level. For some of you, it might be a financial crisis, it might be an illness, it might be a relationship challenge, it might be a job layoff, or it might be just this unease in your stomach. You go to sleep at night and you ask yourself, is this all there is? Well, when you go through those moments, I want you to take the time and step back and say, wait a minute, maybe this is the time, as the picture shows here, to jump over the abyss, to jump to the other side and say, look, this is a defining moment in my life. I'm going to get clear about what's important to me. I'm going to get clear about the goals, and I'm going to move towards them because this is my life and this is what I want. So give yourself permission, starting now, to start to move towards what you want in your life. You are a unique and special person, and you can do this. So the 10P model gives you some foundation. What I might suggest is you draw your representation of the 10P model on a piece of paper. You could draw pictures, you could put words, put them up on a wall, and maybe every week take a look at them before you plan your day, and it will give you new energy, new motivation to move forward. So this brings us to the 5 steps to reach your goals. And hopefully you realize now that before starting these steps, it's important to have some kind of a foundation about who you are and where you want to go. So here are the 5 steps. If you follow them, I guarantee you'll reach your goals. Number 1 is to envision. We learn through 5 modalities: hearing, smelling, touch, sight, taste. And it's important now to get a clear vision in your mind's eye, using all of your modalities, what this goal looks like when you've achieved it. So what is the desired state of your goal? If you could come up with a vision of this goal and what it looks like when it's completed, you will begin to start to move forward. So the vision is most important. If you can't have the vision, you can't move forward. If you have the vision of what it looks like when it's done, you can contrast that with the vision of where you are today, and then you have a gap. When you have a gap, now you have the ability to close the gap. If there's no gap, there's no problem. So the first step to reach any goal, to reach your goal today, is start to come up with a vision. Spend a lot of time. Think about this in the shower. Think about this before you go to sleep. Start spending 10, 15 minutes a day on this vision. And you're not through until you're so excited. And then that leads you to step 2, which is write it down. When you write down an idea on paper, magic happens. You externalize it. You're able to stand back and look specifically at this goal in a different light. One thing I like to recommend to people is to write their autobiography 2 years from now. Resumes are necessary, but they're not sufficient. I like autobiographies. Let's assume that your name is Mary Smith, and now you have this vision in mind. You write your autobiography 2 years from now, 2015, and you say Mary Smith is living this life, and you describe in detail exactly the life that you want to live in 2 years with those goals accomplished that you really want to achieve. And then you write today's biography in 2013 on June 11th. Mary Smith is doing the following today. And then you start to see the gap, and then you're able to move towards putting specific steps in place. So step 2 is to write it down. And step 3 is to get support and start to talk to others about what you want. When you tell everybody you know, even strangers, about what it is that you want and what you're moving towards, it commits you, it forces you to move towards your most important goals. It's important to come up with what I call a 3-tier support network. First, find a half a dozen people that are just interested in the topics that you're interested in, that are interested in the same goals that you have or the same goal that you have, and connect with them on a weekly basis. It could be over the internet. It could be in a class. It could be in a chat session. In other words, find a half a dozen people that share your interest, because when you hang around people that are interested in what you're interested in, it gives you more energy. Number 2, find a few people, maybe 2 or 3 people that are not only interested in your goals, but can give you advice. These are people that can give you specific leads, specific advice, right? Find people that have accomplished the goal that you want to achieve. That's the best way. And finally, find a mentor. It could be a person living or dead. Find someone who inspires you, someone who's been there, someone that can give you wisdom, either through what they've written or what they might tell you. So with this team in place, you'll start to be able to talk to many people about your goals. And that, of course, inspires you to move forward. And that leads to the 4th step, which is to take small steps and to measure your progress. Small steps means don't let a day go by without taking at least 10 minutes. That's all it takes, 10 minutes a day to work towards, to take some action towards your most important goals. What happens is if you go too long, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you don't do anything towards your goals, like a muscle, they start to fade away. How you measure your progress towards your goals is up to you, but there's many creative ways you can do it. You could have them on a piece of paper. You could put them on a big wall chart, but write them down. Put them somewhere where you could start to measure. If you don't, what we measure, we tend to make progress towards. If we don't measure, they tend to lose sight. So envision, write it down, talk to others, take small steps. And then you're ready for the fifth step, which is really to celebrate your progress. No one, even people that love you, are going to run up to you and say, hey, how are you doing today? Did you make progress towards your goal? No, that has to come from you. You know, and the best rewards are internal anyway. And internal motivation, intrinsic motivation will last a lifetime. So when you reward yourself for progress towards your goals, you strengthen your progress. You reinforce your vision, and it cycles back to the vision. It cycles back to the first step. So make sure you celebrate your progress. So just to summarize, if you have a foundation in place where you could look at your life, for example, through the 10P model on a regular basis, and then you follow these 5 steps, you will start to move towards the goals that are most important to you. Let's take a moment and do another poll as I start to talk about learning at this point. Pearl?
So the poll question is now live. It's more of an open question, so it's asking you, what do you most want to learn right now? So just to put any answer that just comes into your head. And Craig, if you want to follow on talking over the slide, then we can go over the results in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so don't overanalyze this. Just write down whatever comes to mind. What is it you want to learn right now? I want to talk about learning for a few minutes because learning can be the foundation, as I've written here, to reach your goals. You know, learning comes in many shapes and sizes. You might decide that a degree is necessary to support your learning towards moving towards your goals. You might decide that you want to just attend a seminar, read a book, get a certificate, talk to people. So learning occurs in many, many different shapes and sizes. But I want you to start to think about now, what is it that you most importantly want to learn right now? I've found that if we're interested in something, we can learn it, which is far better than to be really good at something and no longer interested. So start to think about, what is it that you really need to learn? Now, learning must be fun. If it's not fun, you're not going to care. It must be relevant. It must be practical, and you need to be able to apply it right away. So take a moment and think about what new learning do you really want right now, which is going to support you in moving towards your most important goals.
So we've just got 18 seconds left, so we will hopefully get the results, and we can have a look at what people have thought about.
Good. Well, let me move on, and we'll come back to the poll in
Sure.
a few seconds. So let me talk about one type of learning that I think is very beneficial to helping people move towards what they want most in their life and their most important goals. You know, online learning has been around for over 15 years. I've been teaching online as a professor for about 12 years now. And I am so excited to be part of the Roehampton University Online Network. We started back in January. I was one of the first professors. And I just love teaching in this program. And I just want to give you an idea of what happens in our online class and how that contributes towards your learning. One of the things that occurs when you take classes online, first of all, you have the beauty of learning at your own pace. You meet people which share your interests, and you really, I find, develop a lifetime network of that support category I talked about earlier. In my classes at Roehampton, all of our activities are collaborative. You know, I make sure that all of the assignments are able to link to what people want to work on. In other words, you have a chance to mold the assignments to fit your goals. I believe that it's important to learn things you could apply right away after class. And so all of my teaching at Roehampton is practical and applied. I love giving real-time feedback to my students so that they could actually use what they're learning. And so the Roehampton model is a fantastic example of an online university that really caters to working adults who have lots of ideas, lots of goals. I'd like to tell my students that there are no right or wrong answers in class. And so I would encourage all of you that are interested in online learning to at least look into online learning and the Roehampton model as another piece of your foundation. And by the way, I would love to see you in my class as well. Let's go back and see what, Pearl, let's see what people said. What do you want to learn most?
So Craig, I'm not sure if you can see all the results on the right-hand side. For me, I can only see mine that I put in. So actually mine, inspired by you, are coaching skills. I'm not sure. Can you see the others from other people's responses?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, so unfortunately we can't see everyone's responses, but hopefully that was a really good exercise for people to think about, you know, what they most want to achieve. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just checking here. Actually, I do see them now, and it looks like I see a lot of learning related to people's work goals, which is great, and really across the map here. And so what's nice about learning is the ideal learning environment for adults is really to tailor your learning specifically to what it is that you want to do. So before we do some Q&A, let me just do a little wrap up here. I encourage all of you today to dream big. You know, don't have small dreams. Have big dreams, because the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined when we think about the future. And so the bigger dreams you have, you're going to start to move towards them. I also believe that you could achieve what your heart desires most if you really focus on it. So I encourage all of you to make today the first day to move towards the goals that you really want in your life. And hopefully I'll see you in our class one day here at Roehampton to support you on that. So at this point, I would love to open this up to some Q&A. We have some time, Pearl.
Absolutely, and we've started having a couple of questions whilst you've been speaking. So if anybody has any more questions that they'd like to ask, please do so in the Q&A, and I will get to them. But just for starters, so someone asked, so what's the first step to getting started on reaching those goals that you talk about in this seminar?
Yeah, I think it's envision. It's really visualizing what it is you want and what it looks like. You know, if you want a new job, what is that new job going to look like? What exactly are you going to do? If you want a new relationship, what's that going to look like? I mean, it starts with a vision, because you can't take action if you don't have the vision. So I think it starts with a vision.
Okay, great. And this is something I've been thinking about as well during the seminar. You know, so someone asked, okay, I don't have any goals. I don't know what they are. How can I find them? How can I find these goals that you talk of?
Well, first think about what's most important to you. What are your values? What are your end values? For example, is one of your values to spend time with family? Therefore, what might be some goals that relate to family? Maybe you want to be healthier. So what goals relate to being healthier? Maybe you want a promotion at work. Well, what goals relate to your promotion, to your advancement in your work and your career? So one way to get at goals is to first think about what's most important to you, and then derive the goals from that.
Okay, and we've got some more questions here. So you mentioned Roehampton at the end. So how do you think that Roehampton can help someone achieve their goals?
You know, we have a very unique program. The Roehampton model, each class is 12 weeks long, and each unit is 2 weeks. And for example, there are no grades until the final unit. So we try to de-emphasize grades in the first 10 weeks and really emphasize collaboration, sharing of ideas, We have, depending on the class, we have multiple subjects we discuss, and specifically we make sure that the assignments are relevant or practical. And so it's a very collaborative environment, really pushing, I think, the envelope in teaching. So it's very different probably than most of the experiences that our audience today has had in traditional school.
Great, thanks, Craig. And a nice question that just came in about you personally was, when did you realize that you wanted to coach, to teach people?
Yeah, I was a senior manager in the biggest companies in America for close to 25 years, and I was good at it, but I was never really that interested. I mean, for me, I always decided internally I felt a little out of place. I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to work with people. I always wanted to write, and for me, I went through all the stages that I write about in terms of making my change to a much more authentic life. And so everything I speak about, I've been through myself.
Great. And a nice question from John here says, what happens when the opportunities available do not tally with your goals?
Then you don't take the opportunity. Life moves fast, and if you're not careful, look, I had a friend who wanted to be a sculptor, and he took a job driving a taxi. And I met him 5 years later, and I said, how's that sculpting going? He says, well, I don't have any time. I'm a taxi driver now. So you have to be careful. Life moves fast, and if you take the opportunity for the wrong reasons, you're going to find yourself too far from your goals.
Okay, and someone else asked, so I feel goals are different for different areas of life. Example, he gives a family, personal, career, etc. How do we balance or prioritize these goals?
Yeah, I think it's up to you. You have to be the one that prioritizes your goals. One way to do that, as I said earlier, is to prioritize your values. You know, is family over work? Is work over family? Is health over family? Get really clear about the priority of your values, and that will help you then prioritize your goals.
Great, great. Thank you, Craig. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. I mean, we've not got any more questions come through. Thank you to those listening for sharing your questions. Maybe if you want to just give a wrap-up, Craig, just to give an overview of how you felt today went, and just an ending for us.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all for attending. Sometimes to reach our goals in life, we just need a little push, a little nudge. And I think you took an hour or so today to invest in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, you start to see progress. And so I encourage all of you to use today's workshop as a stepping stone towards taking action now to move towards what you really want most in your life. I'll be cheering you on as you go, and I know you can do it. And so thanks so much for attending today. And look, if you believe in yourself, other people will believe in you as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Craig, and I'm sure that everyone who's taken the time to listen today has really enjoyed that, and I certainly have, and I know the staff here working on this webinar have really enjoyed it as well. So you really really nice to have you with us, and we have a thank you coming in from the Q&A as well, so I know everyone is really appreciating it. And for those of you listening, if you want any more information about the Roehampton online programs, do visit our website at roehampton-online.com. We're also on Facebook, Roehampton Online. Just search for it in your taskbar, and also on LinkedIn. We have a nice community there, as well as Twitter and Pinterest. So please do come and visit us in our social networks. And also, if you would like to speak to an enrollment advisor about going forward with Roehampton as an online student, then please let us know in the Q&A, and one of our advisors will support you in that. More thank yous coming in for Craig. Someone mentioned that they appreciate your wisdom and encouraging words, so we all know that it's been really useful. So again, thank you, Craig. Wishing you a great rest of your day in sunny in sunny America, and yeah, having a nice evening to everyone else. The Q&A will be open for the next 10 to 15 minutes, so if you have any further questions, please carry on asking our advisors, and they will be there to answer. Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.